Does this sound familiar? Your mod list has reached triple digits, and your game takes 25 minutes to launch. But it still feels like there is something missing. That's when you start to have the intrusive thoughts. This playthrough would be perfect if it just had this one thing. It's a shame it doesn't exist. Greetings, noble lords. My name is East Pointed, the maker of Elf Destiny, and welcome to the Path of the Mod Maker. Elf Destiny was the first mod I've ever made, and so today, I hope to share some development strategies I used, as well as some of the experiences I had working on it. The goal here is to demystify the process, just a little bit, from the perspective of a brand new modder, maybe offer some humble advice, and get you on the road to making the mod of your dreams. Backstory, I was always a fan of the Pantheon of the Gods mod for CK3. The feature I adored most was the elves you can play in that mod, obviously. Unfortunately, the creator got busy with life and couldn't at the time keep up with supporting the mod any longer. Thing is, I had developed a bit of a personal obsession at this point and couldn't really play without the elves. Right then and there, I decided, I'll make my own elf mod. My first iteration was just a standalone genetic elf trait that gave elf ears. I studied the POG code for a good long while and managed to flounder around long enough to put together the trait of my dreams. As I played with it, I realized the dopamine I got from making something myself and then adding it to the game was about the same or greater as actually playing the game. It became quite clear I was going to need to upgrade my creation to a full mod. Thus began my true modding journey. This was all kicked into overdrive when, in response to folks commiserating the loss of Pantheon of the Gods on that mod's Discord, I commented that I was working on giving the elves a new life. This was a big moment. I was now being held accountable by the community. I had made promises. I started writing up dev diaries, further increasing my investment in the project. There was no going back. So you want to make a mod? Well, before you jump in, there's a few things I'd recommend you consider before you get too deep. The first thing I'd suggest is to start by taking notes. Once I decided to dive deeper into this newfound hobby of mine, I began to write down ideas. What will the lore be like? What kind of special events will there be? What new traits and men-at-arms will it have? And it goes on and on and on. In my opinion, this is both one of the most important and also one of the most fun parts of working on the mod. Because at this point, your mod is still just a blob of clay that you can shape into anything, and thinking of all the possible ideas is exhilarating. Having a large list of ideas ahead of time can help you pick and choose which ones make the most sense at the beginning, and then can cut down on design pivots you might make down the road as new ideas come to you. This was the approach I took, and man, did the ideas flow. Pages. I had many pages of random ideas. In the shower, on the toilet, laying in bed, trying to fall asleep, ideas would just come to me nonstop. I became a big user of the Notes app on my phone, and every time I had inspiration, boom, written down. No matter where I was or what I was doing, it was quick and easy. I then would take all those notes on my phone and aggregate them with the notes I had on my computer. After a while, I figured, okay, let's organize these thoughts and figure out what kind of workload we're looking at. My God, it was a lot. It became quite apparent that even if I was a modder with years of experience, this would take far too long. That realization can be quite demoralizing if you're not ready for it, and it can risk derailing the entire thing. Luckily, as a software engineer with some experience, I knew how to slice through this uncertainty with the power of MVP. For those who don't know, MVP stands for Minimum Viable Product. It's the principle that when creating a large project, to first identify the minimum set of features the project absolutely needs to function, and then complete those first. Okay, simple. So what features does your mod need to be complete? Let's go over some strategies. First, let's start by filtering out the things that will take too long. New clothes? Gone. New custom map? Gone. As much as I would love these things in my mod, as a solo dev, you will need to accept some things, or rather compromise. As someone who hasn't taken the time to learn 3D modeling yet, I know that picking up these skills will not be a quick thing. The compromise is to move these items to the one-day category. You're not canceling these ideas, you're just accepting that they are at the back of the line. They'll get done one day. A second strategy when determining your MVP is to consider a skateboard solution. What do I mean? This image is a great explanation. You want to be delivering value to your mod users as fast as possible. So try to roll out the features that can work by themselves first. This comic shows two approaches to making a car, where a car represents a piece of software. In the first approach, the developer first spends a lot of time making perfect car wheels, but they still can't deliver it to customers because this product still won't allow the customer to go anywhere. They repeat this with the car frame, doors, and so on and so on. And after a long time and a lot of hard work, at the very end, it all comes together. They finally can deliver to the customer a working car. Fine. But let's talk about the second approach. Here, the developer knows, yes, the customer wants a car, and I'm going to give them that. But why don't we first try to deliver the bare minimum that allows the customer to go somewhere? So this time, the developer first builds a skateboard. Sure, it's not up to the customer standards yet, but we are able to deliver some value quickly. Now the customer can go places. And as we add more features, the skateboard improves and upgrades to a scooter, then a bike, then a motorcycle, and finally a car. Not only did the customer get exactly what they wanted in the end, but they also received value during the entire development process. Likewise, when making your mod, try to first work on the features that can stand on their own, not the big ones that have a lot of dependencies. Okay, fine. We'll toss out all the coolest features. You happy now? Here's my MVP then. There, done. Okay, time for a curveball. Even though I said you should work in a skateboard solution, you should still wait till your mod has a complete vertical slice before releasing it. There's a common phenomenon in the Steam store where a new modder gets excited, puts out a small bit of functionality and a description of future plans. And that's as far as it ever goes. Maybe their internal motivation dies after that. Maybe they didn't get enough community support. But whatever the reason is, the mod is finished. A big flaw of this approach is that new mods are published every day, and your mod will get pushed down into the deeps of the workshop. And with only a promise of new features coming, many users will never revisit your page again. Do you want people to play your mod? Then you need to give them a proper reason to, not just promises. So what do I mean by vertical slice? The idea is used a lot in software development and is actually aligned with the skateboard method. Imagine that the entire thing you're trying to make is a cake. A vertical slice is simply a complete taste of what your project does, aka a slice of the cake. This image is an example that might be used when developing a website, but the principle still applies here. Instead of creating the entire website, we would simply create a single web page, maybe the home page. That's the user interface in this cake slice. The middle tier is all the logic being done to organize the data needed for the homepage, and the database is simply where all that homepage data is stored. If you wire all of this up, you have yourself a vertical slice. Sure, it's just a website with a homepage, and it's not the complete vision yet, but it functions, and it delivers some value. So, as I figured out my MVP, I considered what my vertical slice should be and ended up with something like this. MVP. I knew I want elf traits the players can evolve and eventually reach god status. I knew that I wanted a unique elf culture with new traditions. I knew I wanted this new activity, expeditions, so that the player could go discover these elf traditions and other neat elf artifacts. I knew I wanted an elf religion, and I knew I wanted special elf bloodline traits, so that the player has something to go do, hunt down these traits, and add them into their dynasty. Sure, I want more men-at-arms, more traditions, special events, more activities, and on and on and on. But this list represents a clear picture of what the mod is and where it's going. Now, this is not at all a pure MVP. I could cut everything except for elf traits, and the mod would still have a functioning purpose. But these were the bare minimum features that I believe it needed to be the mod that I would want to play and I felt others would want to play. What your MVP looks like will ultimately be a personal decision. But I do have one final piece of advice. Whatever you do decide to add, polish it. Polish it. Don't settle for placeholders. Don't leave localization text everywhere. Commit to finish as best you can 100% whatever features you decide to add and make them as nice as possible. Now, I'm guilty of violating this rule from time to time, but it's an important one. You only get one first impression. When a player sees janky, unfinished work, they aren't always going to give you the benefit of the doubt that you're going to come back and make it better. They're going to think that this is just an example of the quality of content they can expect going forward, and they might abandon the mod. Also, I'm telling you, seeing something you made complete and polished in the mod will make you feel really good about it, and it can be an incredible motivator to keep adding more. Okay, you've identified the things you want in the mod. Great, now what? Well, now it's time to identify the skills you're going to need based on the features in your MVP. Let's get the big one out of the way, coding. A lot of people quit right here. If you have never done programming before, it can seem very intimidating. Please listen to me. It's not even close to as difficult as you imagine it to be. I often say it's like learning a new language, but far simpler. After all, most of the programming terms are written in clear English. It's like playing a new board or card game. You just have to take some time to learn what all the pieces do, and then you can play them in any order that you want. And trust me, as far as coding languages go, the CK3 modding language leans way more to the simple side. When making your first mod, if you have no experience coding, try to think of other mods you've used before that accomplish almost the same thing as the feature you're trying to add, and copy how they did it to learn. Maybe no one has added the Dragonborn God King trait you want to add, but most mods add traits. Try to find a mod that only adds a single trait, that way you are less likely to get confused. There are also a bunch of great resources you can find online. The CK3 wiki itself has pages dedicated to modding. And there are also Discord communities like CK3 Mod Co-op filled with other modders who can give you advice and help you get unstuck. As a first-time modder, they were an enormous help to me. Shout out to the lads over there. Eventually, you are going to want to have a look at the CK3 game files themselves to get a better understanding of where things go and what is even possible to add to the game. Now, when you first open the game files, you might have a reaction like this.
Oh man! Oh God! Oh man! Oh God! Oh man! Oh God! Oh man! Oh God! Oh man! Oh God!
Take a deep breath, it will be okay. When you're first starting on your mod, you should adopt this simple mindset. Yes, there are a ton of files here, but I only care about a few specific things. I therefore can ignore everything else. Once you see how the files are organized, you realize finding what you need isn't that bad at all. You want to work on a trait? Look, there's a folder dedicated to traits. You want to work on making a new religion, a new culture? It's all there. Ignore everything else and just find what you need. Most code editors, like Visual Studio Code I'm using here, have a search function. Use it often. Even copying off of previous examples, it can be very frustrating and demoralizing how slow it is to add any feature when you first start. You need to push through this. It gets better, trust me. Eventually, you'll be flying through things in 10 minutes that once took you all week. That's not at all an exaggeration. It's just like any other skill. I've heard countless tales of people learning to code from mod making and going on to have careers in the tech field. And if that's something you're interested in, it could be you too. Now, let's pivot to art. You're probably going to need art for the things you're making, and the way I see it, you have three choices. You can draw it yourself, you can commission someone else to draw it, or you use the magic of AI. Drawing it yourself is probably the best option if you have the skills, but most people don't, and getting those skills takes years of dedication. Commissioning others could be the best solution. It is great to support artists. But then again, this is a free mod you're making, and artist commissions, while not always that expensive, may still be too much for you at that time. AI is the route I took, not just because of the downsides of the other choices, but also because I had some experience with it. But here's another huge piece of advice. Every single skill on Earth is documented on YouTube. Maybe it's not 100% accurate, but it is damn close. Anyone can make AI art, and there are countless tutorials online. If you don't want to go too deep, get a $15 Midjourney subscription and have fun. If you do want to go deeper and have more control of the art, watch tutorials on how to use Stable Diffusion. Again, like the advice about looking through the CK3 game files, don't get overwhelmed. There are a ton of advanced features in the AI art world. Start with the very basic tutorials and build upon it as you get more comfortable and curious.
So, the mod was finally live. I took to Reddit, announced the mod, and got a truly surprising level of support. This was a huge emotional payout and really did mean the world to me. Turns out, quite a sizable portion of the Crusader Kings community are elf fanatics. As happy as I was, this post had an opportunity hidden in it. And it's another bit of advice I want to share. Feedback is a gift. One of the top upvoted comments said the poster art for the mod was, in their opinion, off-putting and a bit too generic anime. If I was being honest with myself, I agreed. Here's the art. Not that bad, but you can see what they mean. For some background context and how I landed on this art, I knew I wanted to go for a movie poster look, and I wanted it to be a bit tongue-in-cheek goofy. I remembered all the cheesy movies from my childhood, and one that just stuck out to me for whatever reason was The New Guy. Look familiar? It's not a very good movie, you don't need to go find it. Now, even though I had invested a bit of time into the poster, I was far from committed to it. And that's really the attitude I recommend you take. Don't be overly defensive of your first drafts. I spent the next day or so tinkering and came up with a version myself, and I believe the community much preferred. Now, if I had been stubborn and decided my first work is my best work, who knows how successful the mod would have been? Again, feedback is a gift. So, the mod is live and subscribers are rolling in, and the Discord server is growing rapidly. The mod hit top of the week on Steam, and then it made it up into the most popular of the last 3 months category. It even got official recognition from Paradox, and they featured the mod on X, Discord, and eventually even the game launcher itself. The ultimate jewel in my crown. Things were going good, and I couldn't be happier with the success. So, I can finally rest now, right? Now, this is a personal choice. Maybe for you the journey would just end here, and that's fine. But remember, I've only implemented my MVP, and I have pages and pages of notes of dream features I would love to add. More urgent than that, the moment I published the mod, the error reports started rolling in. Turns out having many thousands of people play your mod is a great way to find the many issues you didn't encounter yourself or were just pretending didn't exist. So the next few months were a frantic rush of hotfixes and quality of life improvements. Then, when I got things stable enough, I pivoted and worked on a new features patch. This was also very well received from the community. Which brings us to today. I'm continuing to publish bug fixes as needed, and I'm planning out new features. I would say my stress levels are way down. Now I'm in the fun zone. This mod has a whole community around it, and people are making submods left and right. It's been translated into every language, except Korean. There's even fan fiction being written. I've developed almost a council of advisors to bounce mod ideas off of, and I'm even starting to grow enough as a person to trust others to develop some content, like event chains in the mod. Life is good, and I can't wait to see how the mod grows in the future. I hope some of these tips and experiences I've shared have been valuable. If you have ever thought making a mod would be fun, please just give it a shot. It might be challenging, but I promise it's not as impossible as you imagine. And again, there's a great community ready to help you out if you're serious. This was my first ever mod I've made, but I guarantee you it won't be the last. Thank you again for listening to me ramble. Now go out there and seize your destinies.